Hello class, in this section we're going to talk about slope and graphing linear equations. We're going to start off by graphing using intercepts, and then we'll move on to learn about how to find and calculate slope. So the first thing we're going to talk about is graphing using intercepts, and intercepts are where a graph, or a line in particular, crosses the x and y axis. So if I was to draw a line like this, there's two intercepts, one right here on the y-axis that, if we count, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, so it would be the point 0, 4, that's the y-intercept, and then negative 1, 2, 3, so negative 3, 0 is the x-intercept. So that's what intercepts are. And then when we're looking at this particular equation over here on the left-hand side, what we're going to do is figure out how that equation has intercepts on the graph. And we do that by crossing out the x or the y. If we want the y-intercept, we cross out the x. And the thing that's next to the x. In other words, we're going to cross out the whole negative 6x. If we scribble it out, what you're left with is 2y equals 10. And if I continue to solve for y, I get y equals 5. What that means is the y-intercept is at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. And the point is actually 0, 5. And then I could do the same thing to figure out the x-intercept by crossing out the y. To get the x-intercept, you cross out the y. And the thing that's next to the y, which is the 2. So if I scribble that out, I'm left with negative 6x equals 10, which means the x-intercept is going to be x equals, if I divide both sides by negative 6, it would reduce to be negative 5/3. So 5/3 is a little bit more than 1, so we go about right there would be the x-intercept, and that's negative 5/3, comma 0. Now when I'm saying I cross out the x or I cross out the y, technically what I'm doing is I'm putting in a 0 for the y value. So let's rephrase this. Right here there's a y value. When I was finding the x, I crossed it out. By that I meant I'm really plugging in a 0. Because if I'm looking at an intercept, I'm actually looking at a y value of 0, and that makes it cross the y-axis. So when it's plugging in a 0, that crosses out, and I'm left with negative 6x equals 10. So I'm really finding the x value when y is 0 if I was on a t-chart. And the same thing for the y-intercept. I was plugging in 0 for the x. So negative 6 times 0 would, of course, cross this out. So, and the simple way of saying it is cross out the y if you want the x-intercept, cross out the x if you're looking for the y-intercept. So that's intercepts. Now we're going to talk about slope. There's 4 steps to find slope, and these are the steps. So we find the points on the graph, we count the rise, divide that by the run, and the formula is rise over run. And by that I mean this way, rise over run. So let's look at that in an application. So here's a formula, rise over run. And so the first step was to find points. And looking at this graph, it's not perfect, but the points are supposed to be here. There's 3 of them that actually touch in good places where it actually crosses at a coordinate on the grid. So once I find points, I'm supposed to count from one point to the next point. So I'll start with this one. We'll call this point A, and we'll call this one point B. Okay? We just need to count between 2 points. We don't actually need the third one. So I'm going to count from point A to point B, and I'm not counting this way. That wouldn't make sense. What I'm counting is how far up it goes. This way, 1, 2, 3. So that's the rise of 3. And then I'm going to run to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Runs 4. So the rise is 3, the run is 4. And we rise up. We always rise up in terms of up and down. Rise vertically, I guess just to say vertically. And by that I mean that you have positive or negative rise. Okay? And then run is always to the right. Well, it doesn't have to be, but generally it is to the right. So we ran this way to the right. Okay, let's try a few more problems here. We've got negative slope, and again, when I'm talking about rising first, here, by the way, I'm finding 2 points here. There's 3 again, and we'll use the further apart ones because you can use any points. We'll call this one A, we'll call this one B. Okay, so now rise is always vertical, so vertical goes up or down. It's rise like an elevator. Elevators go up and down. So this time I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go down 1, 2 places, and then I'm on the same level as the B right here. So the rise is 2, but I went 2 down. So to give it direction, I have to say negative 2 because it went down 2. And now I'm going to run to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the rise was negative 2, the run was 8. That reduces to negative 1 over 4. And maybe you noticed the point, or the distance, the slope, from A to this point in the middle, we'll call it Z. From A to Z, I would rise down 1 and run 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's negative 1/4. They have the same slope. The fraction is just needing to be reduced to get the negative 1/4. So the negative 1/4 is the slope. And then you could do it with a bunch of points, and they're going to give these in your homework where you just get 2 points and you have to find the slope. There's 2 ways to do it. The first way I'm going to show here in this lesson is how to count, again, like the last one. So 5, 2. And so I'd have to plot the point 5, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, right about there. And 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So 5, 2 to 4, 1. So to get there, I go up 1, over 1. The rise is 1 over 1, which is just 1. Between negative 2 and 3, or sorry, negative 2, 3 and 4, 6, so negative 2 up 3. That's the first point there. We'll call this B. So I'll put B right there. And 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll call that C. And so I need to count the rise. So I rise 1, 2, 3, if there was actually the line up there. And then run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So I rose 3, I ran 6, and that reduces to 1/2. So the slope is 1/2. And finally, let's do negative 3, 5. So negative 3 up 5, it's about right there. We'll call this point X. And then 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Down nice and low. And, sorry, there's 5 in there. I kind of ran out of space on my page here. So I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So down negative 11 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 spaces. So that doesn't reduce, but it's negative 11 over 7.